And welcome everyone to the latest in the CBAA's webinars, brought to you with the assistance, the support, the help, the unwavering support rather, of the Community Media Training Organisation. If you're thinking about taking on some training at your organisation, cmto.org.au is the place to go to find out more. Tonight's session, Inventive Revenue Raising Ideas for Your Community Radio Station. It's going to be an absolutely cracker session. Great to have so many people here with us this evening. Presented by Nathaniel Garvin. He's going to be our sort of primary presenter, if you will. He'll be the main course, but it's not a complete meal without a fantastic little entree, and that will be provided from David Donnelly at 2CBD or Cool FM in Glen Ennis, and Joy Taylor, 8CCC in Alice Springs. Nathaniel's been doing fundraising in sales and community radio for 15 years, both as a station manager for Coast FM and general manager of Ultra 106.5. He now works with stations all over Australia, helping them to develop their income and community engagement. David has been involved in his station for years and years, and also politically active in the local community there. So a bit of crossover sort of between his role on the station and his role in the general community. And Joy Taylor, I hold in the highest regard. She is one of the reasons why community broadcasting is such a wonderful place. She's with 8CCC in Alice Springs. They are a fantastic station, and she is a fantastic lady who does some absolutely wonderful stuff. And you would have noticed that she was interviewed on our People of Community Radio webinars, not webinars, videos that we had out a couple of years ago that are still available on our website. In this session, we'll identify new inventive ways to increase your station's revenue, renew and revitalise existing revenue sources, and make decisions as to the best direction for ongoing and future station fundraising. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That's the 8CCC bakery there. So I'd better mic up Joy Taylor right away. Joy, are you there?
I certainly am. Yes, thanks, Danny.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. It's a pleasure to be part of this conversation about helping different strategies for making money for community radio stations. And I guess this is our little gem that we came up with at 8CCC. 8CCC, just a bit of background, 8CCC has a license to broadcast in Alice Springs and in Tennant Creek. Tennant Creek is about 500 kilometres north of Alice Springs. So we have some quite significant technical challenges to do with providing support, broadcast and production opportunities in both towns, but that's not what we're here to talk about. The bakery and cafe, the idea originally came about through some conversations between presenters and the then acting station manager, Eden Baxter, who sadly can't be here to present this for you himself because he's looking after his son, and it's too noisy when it would be too hard for him to do that and be able to attend to his young son's needs as well. So Eden and then a couple of presenters who are both big coffee fans in different ways. DJ Camcorder, who was at the time a small business operator, a cafe owner, and Rocklicious, his counterpart in the program Rehab. They're two great characters who now are in Sydney, based in Sydney, but keep popping back to Alice Springs. They came up with the idea of organising a part of our station frontage, which was not being used really very much, just as a walkthrough to the main part of the station, to turn that into a small coffee bar, and to get and so all we did was we made a relationship with a local coffee company and got the machine and so on, and did some on the smell of a oily rag, did all of the compliance requirements in terms of, power and water and cleanliness and so on, got our license from the local authorities, and set up a small cafe, and using beg stealing and borrowing chairs and tables and so on. And so it started off in a very small way, and just serving coffees, and it sort of kicked off when really into higher levels when Amy Lou, Jeff's or Rocklicious' partner, came on board as a barista, and she's a really great barista. And of course, people always follow a good barista. So then the numbers built up, and so it was a steady level of interest. It wasn't a big earner for us, and I think I should be clear that our intent at the time was to provide an additional reason for people to come to the station on a Saturday morning. We were only going to be open that on the Saturday mornings, and to provide that as another opportunity for people to come down, hang out, listen to the radio, maybe be involved in as interviewees on the programs that were going out to air, that sort of thing, and to just build up interest in the station. So, and as long as we were able to break even and make us, you know, and on occasions make a small profit, that was good. A big change happened when a couple of our, as you can see on the images there, this guy with the blue hat and a pile of bread loaves. This was what made a big difference for us. What happened was that there were some of our members who decided to have a life change with their work life change, and set up a business as a bakery. And they didn't have a premises. They decided to go initially with the model of a pop-up bakery, popping up at various locations around town, and they were keen to join with us on a Saturday morning. So we had the coffee running and then the bakery. And as you can see from the images there, what changed from a sort of a really kind of low-key, gentle coffee experience soon ended up with lineups of people waiting for baking for this beautiful bakery, handmade bakery goods, and then hanging out and having a coffee, having their sweet bakery treats and that sort of thing, and learning more about the station. And so what we did in that then was have people sort of wandering around. Various volunteers would go around and chat to people and just tell them about what was happening at the station if they were interested in getting involved. And so although the cafe in itself hasn't been a big earner, what then happened was that there was a significant increase in membership, an increase in the purchase of merchandise, interest in people wanting to get training and get involved in the station generally. So it had lots of layers of engagement, and also the bakery became a sponsor of 8CCC. So that was a really good collaborative effort, I think. So, and we were happy with that and would have been happy to continue with that for some time. What changed was that the bakery team decided that they would like to go in to have an established premises in town, and they've gone on to do that. And I guess is in support of our activity and the interest that that's created in the Northern Territory, and with some of our funding partners, there was support for us to apply for a grant to do a major refurb of the building. And so although we've lost the Saturday morning pop-up bakery, we're having part of the refurb of our premises is to create an improved space for our micro cafe. And that's currently in process. So by the end of, I I think by September, mid-September, early October, we'll be going back into our premises. But at the moment, we're operating from a pop-up studio in another location in town, which has been interesting. So we'll be going back in, and we'll be looking at other ways of running another way of running the cafe, which we're aiming to start early next year. We'll do some trials before then, but our intent is to start running it regularly from early next year.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
So that's
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. So I don't know if there's. I guess to sum up, it was really just people thinking a bit outside the square that really helped, and a board that was willing to support the idea and do some investment in, and we got in-kind support from various tradies in town to support us getting it all set up, and then running with it and going with some of the things that spinned off from that event. And we're really happy with how the project went, and as you can see, we're intending to continue on in a slightly different form in the future.
Excellent. All right, Joy, thank you very much for that, and thank you for taking the time today to come and have a chat with us. It's an absolutely great initiative, and if people want to find out more, you can get in touch with 8CCC. You can also check out back issues of the CBX magazine. The last issue from 2017, the November issue, has an article on that there. That's what we flashed up there before. Thanks again, Joy.
Would you like me to answer any of the questions that have popped through?
Right. Sorry, I didn't see those coming through. They would be, and just quietly, David Donnelly, I've turned your microphone on. The questions would be, okay. Sounds like, did you need any licenses or council approvals, Geordie asks?
Yes, we did. There's a requirement for, health and hygiene if you're doing any kind of food or drink service. So we did need to get that approval, and it depends on where you live as to whether it's the local council or, in our case, it's the NT government department that's involved with licences and so on. Yeah. Oh, so they were very helpful. Yeah.
And there was also, there was a question there about whether it'd be useful for training people, or whether you could get training grants as a result of that initiative.
I think that's something that we did look at, and because we were at the time only intending to operate half a day a week, that wasn't really sufficient to give people a lot of experience. So that's something that's on the agenda to consider for the future, but we certainly didn't explore that. Although we did provide opportunity for people to learn how to make a good coffee. So they were then, it's like a little step in the door to, if they were interested in just getting a feel for it, so that they could then go for training opportunities in coffee making, in barista, as there are quite a number of opportunities in that area in Alice Springs.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Joy. David Donnelly, your screen is up and hopefully your microphone is working, so I'm going to throw it to you. David is from 2CBD in Glen Innes.
Well, thank you, Danny. Good evening, everyone, and great to be joining the panel. I'm not sure whether you're just seeing one screen or two screens. I've got the primary screen up dealing with the topic we've been talking about. I could just give a bit of other background. 2CBD is in a fairly small community. We probably cover about less than 10,000 people. We do operate on a shoestring budget, and we were working from very, very confined premises until October of last year, when the new radio centre in town, right on the highway, the New England National Highway, was opened by Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce, and we of course had CBAA representatives, your President and CEO were there. It was a great day and a great launch to something that's been a massive step forward.
Now,
based on about 45,000 funds to a $300,000 asset.
awesome. David, I'll just jump in quickly. The screen that's showing up at the moment is a Word document. I don't know if that's the screen you're wanting to be showing, seeing
Yes.
as you've got two screens at the moment. Oh,
Yep.
that's the right one. Good stuff. Sorry, go on.
Yep. Okay, just moving through, the first paragraph there is dealing with an introduction, and then we get into this document's really about a very basic introduction to a potential sponsor, and from there we can give them more detail. So we move through the second paragraph dealing with the categories, and then the dot points there indicate the rates per 30-second slot for the specific time frames.
Yep.
From there we go to the packages. Everyone, is that fine to there?
Yep. So package one, so $81 a month.
Yep. So there, these kind of basic packages. We have a very detailed rate sheet, but for a person who's just a little interested, this is a starting point. Our rates are pretty low, I guess, but we can only move forward at a rate that doesn't upset people. We don't want to increase rates to cause people to actually drop out. Wherever possible, we've tried to work to match even dollars, and if possible, that includes a GST calculation, so it makes life a little easier for people. We're still gradually moving in that direction to have an even dollar figure so that the GST is straightforward. Moving on to page 2, if everyone's happy with that.
Yep.
I think this was the key to the topic, was the pay in advance option. So we have, well, in fact, all of our sponsorship is paid in advance. People taking out sponsorship are billed for a month ahead from the first of that month. So us, if they skip town or whatever, instead of having a 30-day credit plus 30 days, they've got 30 days and the first payment is due. So it's pretty hard to withdraw sound waves and repossess them.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got the monthly rate, and then 3 monthly is straightforward. They just pay 3 monthly in advance, and they keep that rolling in most cases. And that's kind of convenient, and less transactions, I think, is a big issue. We move to the 6 monthly rate. They get 5% discount if they take out 6 months. Then we go to the 12 months, and if they wish to go for 12 months, pay in advance, pay 11 months and get 12 months. The key here is that the necessity to understand the customer's needs and the style of business they're working in and their resource limitations for paying bills and so on. We have one customer who's a heavy plant operator and a one-man business, and really doesn't want to be paying bills every month. He would prefer simply to pay one and not have to do anything for a further 12 months. So looking at the advantages to the customer, and I've just put some key ones in, there's a discount, of course, and also the fact that it's easily communicated and understood. It cuts out 11 sets of paper or computer transactions per annum. And of course, when you look at that, you've got the initial billing, and then when the payment's made, you've got the receipt of that. And all of that takes time, even if it's only 2 or 3 minutes. It's important. So the more you can cut down that administration work, the less load on volunteers. And in some cases, it may suit the individual business cash flow in that they may have all their money coming in one part of the year and not so much for the balance. So they may wish to simply pay at that time of the year. If we look at advantages to 2CBD, again, it cuts out 11 sets of paperwork, computer transactions or whatever. And there is a level of financial risk management in that you do have a number of of the sponsors that are going to be, that payment's been made and you don't have a problem that there's some hazard comes up and you lose everyone at once, at least you've had some payment that's already been lodged and locked in. And it does provide a level of offset for our annual payments. For example, insurance. Rather than paying our insurance on a monthly basis, it makes sense for us to pay that on an annual basis, and that's a fairly large slice of money. So if that's offset by sponsors paying in advance, well, it just aids our cash flow as well. So that's, I guess, the just simply the background to this topic. And I've got other screens where I can show the other some of the other components briefly if necessary.
Oh, that's all right. I think, David, thank you very much for that. That's absolutely great. Just to recap on that one, Joy, for the late arrivals, Joy Taylor from 8CCC discussed the union between their station and a local bakery, which did sort of bring in a bit more money, but also, more importantly, I would argue, increased community engagement and involvement with the station. And because I think you'll sort of see more long-term benefits out of that. And David Donnelly from 2CBD, they're discussing the fact that they've got long-term sponsorship packages, which has not only seen a rise in sponsorship, it also means less administration on the station's end. David, I think we were discussing before. So that's also, it's less work for the station, more revenue for the station, and also one of those things that creates sort of longer lasting engagement between the station and local businesses. Time, as always, is slipping. I am going to mic up Nathaniel Garvin. Nathaniel, are you there at the moment?
I'm here, mate. Yep, absolutely. Ready to rock and roll.
No worries, mate. I will just make you the presenter of this, and I will also turn on your webcam.
Great.
Thank
you. This will work. Now, just need to check. Are you seeing blue or are you seeing something else at the moment?
I'm seeing blue, and you're just moving something over there now.
Lovely. Perfect. That's
excellent.
Let's go, shall we?
And I am just going to give you permission to be the person's webcam request. And there we go. Hopefully you'll be flashing up in a second, and the floor is yours, Nathaniel.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for making time tonight. Hopefully I can provide you some information that will help. I'm aware that there'll be a real mix of people who are listening and watching, from people who haven't got any sponsorship or fundraising going at their station at the moment, through to others who have been doing it for many years and have substantial budgets. What it would be really useful, though, is if there is stations that have a turnover larger than 150,000, I'd love to know if you're around, and maybe if you could just put in the comments what sort of, whether you're regional or cap city, or just so I can get an idea of who I'm talking to, so that I don't waste time talking about things that aren't going to be necessary for. If there's no larger stations here, then there's some things I'd like to share with you that maybe I can leave off and just focus on the things that will help smaller stations. Anyway, so let me launch into it. And thanks to people who are updating. Just to give you an idea, the scope we were talking about tonight was to identify new initiatives and ways to increase your station's revenue. And part of what I want to talk about tonight is some ideas that will help small stations, and some ideas that will help medium and larger stations. And so my goal is to try and provide a little bit of something for everyone. Unfortunately, because of our limitation of time, I'm not going to be able to get in deeply into it. But I do want to give you some tasters for some things that are possible, and maybe help you see some things in a new light that will help you to maybe have hope that you can generate income in some other ways, and maybe you thought weren't going to be successful. But let me continue on. So first of all, I want to just give you a bit of a background. Like Danny mentioned, I was formerly managed a radio station on the northwest coast of Tas called Coast FM, and when I took over that, it had a broadcast area of 36,000, and you know, had a fairly small turnover, about 63,000. And over the time I was there, we were able to increase the funds into that station up to 178,000, and most of that was through sponsorship sales. Then I spent some time managing a radio station called Ultra 1065. G'day Peter, who's viewing tonight. He's the current CEO, and in that case, we were able to take the station from a turnover of around about 180 up to about 550 last I checked. So some good growth in both sponsorship and also fundraising. But I know how tough it is. I've done community radio for 15 years, and about 5 years ago, someone came along to me and said, "Can you train us how to do fundraising?" It was the local Hobart City Mission, and I found after giving some time to them, one day a week, just 1 hour a week, we were able to see their donations double in 12 months, and it just showed me the impact that it can have in just realigning things and tweaking the small things. They were putting the same amount of effort in as they previously were. Thanks for everyone, by the way, who's updating whether they're regional or whatever. That's really useful. Thank you. It really helps to be able to speak to where you're at. So yeah, I've been in the smaller stations, and more recently, because of my experience of being able to help organisations, I've now been helping stations all around the country. At least one or two of them are listening tonight, viewing tonight as well. And even through to some of the larger stations where in June I was involved with 6 different on-air appeals, and we managed to collectively raise a bit over $800,000, which is pretty fun. So that gives you a bit of an idea of my background and where I've come from. This is a few happy snaps of some of the people I've been working with in June. And let me keep on going. So I want to hook into a couple of ideas. So I'm going to have to rush through this, I'm afraid. So we won't be able to go quite as in depth as I might have liked to. Great, sub-metro, that's going to be useful. So I've got some great things for sub-metros later that I think you'll find quite useful, particularly around the sales lead generation. I've got a couple of stations that are working with me at the moment in how to do that, and some great ideas that I hope you'll enjoy. Right, let's kick into it though. First of all, I want to talk to stations who don't have hardly any sponsorship income at all. I want to talk to you through how to get started. So when I say hardly any sponsorship income at all, I'm talking stations that have, say, less than 20 sponsors on air at the moment, and you know, your total invoicing might be less than $3,000 per month. I want to talk you through some ways that you can go from where you are now to kick into some quite reasonable sales, and not too far, without too much effort. Well, it's going to take effort, but you know, simply. The first thing, and this is the thing that stations get wrong most, and there'll be many people I'm sure that will be viewing this tonight and think that I'm a bit of a heretic when I get into this part, but it's getting the pricing right, and this is one of the most important things you've got to do when you're shaping up, particularly when you're starting sales. Now, in terms of pricing, you charge absolutely as much as you can, but there is pricing strategy you've got to get around, and this is what I want to talk to you about. If you think about an aeroplane with their flaps, when they put their flaps up as they're coming into land, it's meant to slow them down, right? And the higher your price is, the slower your sales go. In your market, if you have a high price compared to the local commercial radio stations, then it's going to be much harder to sell the spots. Now, let me take you to this next part, and this, for some people, when I break it down like this, it's a bit of an epiphany, and hopefully it might be something that helps you start to generate sponsorship sales and think about it a bit differently. So for instance, there's a lot of stations out there, I think there's over 200 if I understand the stats correctly, that have a total annual income of less than 63,000. And so there's about 200 across Australia that have less than 63,000. That if the entirety of their income was coming from sponsorship, that means that their average spot rate would be less than $1. So let me just break this down for you. If you took every 30-second spot that you can have between 6 a.m. and midnight, 7 days a week, over the year, that'd be 65,000 spots, 65,520 to be absolutely precise. Now, if you actually average $2 per spot for that, you'd actually be banking 131,000. Now, the reason why I make this point really early on is because there are a lot of stations that are wondering why it's hard to do sales, but they're charging $16 a spot in a rural or regional town, whereas they could actually be charging $1 or $2 per spot. But this is the important part: charging a reasonable monthly price, or even you can charge a weekly price. It doesn't have to be monthly. If you get that right, then it can make a massive difference. The other thing that I wish I could get into more details with this, but let me, here we go. How do you believe you should give, maybe I'll look into some questions as we get to the end of this. One of the things I'll say as well, if you're setting up sales for the first time in your station, do yourself a favor and make sure that your salesperson is going to be 20 hours a week at least, and Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Those times are when sales are easiest. Earlier in the day, the better, because people have had less negative experiences. By the time you get to 5 o'clock, people are more likely to be grumpy and less likely to say yes. But you also need five days a week, because if you make a call on a Thursday but you're not around on a Friday to follow up, that means you've got a Friday and 2 days for Monday, and that means that that lead is going to go cold, quite likely. Anyway, just what is good, by the way, just as a note point, 20 hours a week, if you're actually going to pay someone to do that, give them a retainer, I think with the award rate, you can actually afford that on around, it's about $2,000-ish per month. And with the package that I'm about to show you and describe to you, they can actually quickly get to a point where they're covering their costs, probably within a month and a half, 2 months. And then everything above that becomes extra revenue for your radio station. The other thing, this is the package. So this is a tried and true package, and it's great because those of you who will have been grumbling about me suggesting that you sell spots for $1 or $2 will love this, because although what I was saying is absolutely spot on, you can achieve the same outcome but maintain a higher, not effective spot rate, but actual, like this published spot rate. So you might actually sell it for $4 a spot, say, for instance, but the effective spot rate is total inventory divided by the income that you receive. So anyway, we won't get too bogged down in this, but the idea of this club concept is that you reserve 30% of your airtime for club members, and you create a package that gives them 40 by 30 second spots and a share of leftover airtime. Now, the share of leftover airtime diminishes as more people join the club, so it favours early adopters, which creates urgency and real value. So instead of getting just their 40 by 30 second spots, if they're an early adopter, they could be getting 300 by 30 second spots. So it kind of sells itself. Now, this package, if you're just starting out and you were to take on using this sort of package, it will last you about 12 to 18 months before you need to move to the next phase, which we can talk about another time. But when we implemented this at Ultra, we were at a point where we went from 20 clients on air to 64 clients on air in 4 months, and 64 was our capacity. We were sold out. It's very effective, but even though it's a good idea, you still have to do the hard yards. It's still a numbers game. Nothing will stop that, really. The other thing that I'll just mention too is you really got to ask yourself, is your station attractive to your potential sponsors? And one of the first things they'll do when they're looking into you is they'll check out your website. And if that doesn't shape up, then you're not likely to get the sale. And so does your website look decent? Does your logo look decent? Do you have a good culture in your station? Because in small towns, that gets around pretty quick. So making sure your organisation is attractive will help not only with sponsorship sales, but also with fundraising as well. And we'll talk about that later. All right, let's hook into some ways that you can do things that are funner for bigger stations. So this is more probably more suited to a sub-metro or larger regional or a metro station. Sales events. Sales events were the cause of some significant growth for us at Ultra when I was running Ultra, and I've seen it run well at other places, but just a warning too, you can run these badly and get zero results for a lot of output, but they also can be significant. So at Ultra, when we put them in place, we saw an increased sales over the year of 30% for 3 years in a row, and each time we ran an event, we would write about $120,000 in new revenue. Now, that sounds like a lot of money for smaller stations. It is a lot of hard work, and there is actually a bit of risk involved as well because of the formula of how this works. You have to have your venue, you have to have your guest speaker. We'll get into that. Yeah, so you need to actually get an outside guest speaker, someone who is an attractive proposition for people. So you invite them to this free event, and you bring this person like this fellow who we brought down 3 times. His name is Ray, and he is a brand expert. And the idea is he's going to give a whole lot of value to our sponsors, and at the end we'll pitch them a sales package to help them to be able to do what Ray was talking about. And to get more into the detail of exactly the format, basically it starts off with you do an update or an intro about the station for 10 minutes, introduce the speaker talks for 30 minutes, you run a video testimonial about from a successful client, and then you do a 5-minute presentation about the sales packages that you have on offer, and those packages are only available for people who come to the event. It's hard work, but it does pay off big. There's a bit of a rule that I've discovered. If you are trying to bring people who've never been engaged with your station before to it, it's going to work a whole lot less than if you bring people who are engaged in some way. So this is where having a good CRM and managing it well and engaging with businesses regularly makes a real difference. Now, I want to hook into this next one, but I'd love just to hear, is this useful so far? Am I boring people yet? Yeah, let us know with your comments how we're going, and we'll try and hook. Yeah, great. Let me just hook into this one. This is a fun one. So after the sales events, got a bit exhausted, right? And because it was 8 weeks of solid hard work, and looked for a way to get it done a lot easier. So what we did is we tried a thing called a 72-hour sale. And it's on-air sale, and it was basically, I stole the idea from an organisation. It was a radio station in Queensland who used to do all their sales through on-air campaigns. And how it works is you have 2 promos. One of them is a donut with a powerful testimonial of one of your sponsors in the middle, and then then you also have a more detailed promo explaining what the offer is about, but still it's quite vague, and they actually have to ring up to get the more details about the package, and that gives you an option to talk it through and then sell it to them. And there's a special package that's available for just those 3 days, and you've got to use all your different channels to get out there, so email, social media, phones, and in person as well. So your sales team get out there and try and close as many sales in that time as possible. The key to it being successful was having a powerful client testimonial in the promo. It made a massive difference. And we've always had good success coming through for our clients at least 1 or 2 really good testimonials coming through at any one stage, and so it made a difference. In terms of the results it created, we got 14 new clients on air on 3-month packages. This is the thing that blew me away. 8 of those previously we had no contact with. And that was really informative, that there was businesses out there who'd be keen to sponsor if only we knew they existed, and we didn't. And so that's led to some other thoughts that I'll share with you. All right, the other one that I wanted to tell you about is gifts. This blew me away. We started adding in, if you sign up to a 12-month package, you'll get a TV, or if you, sign up for 12 months in this other thing, you might get an Apple Watch even. And it sounds crazy to some degree, but we found that providing that gift, the incentive for people who sign up, made a massive difference to conversion. I think roughly it was around about a 40% increase in conversion. So it's a simple thing, but it can make a massive difference. Now, one of the ways we managed that is we got a contra to pay for much of the things we were giving away. In some cases with Apple products like iPads and Apple Watches and things like that, you can't get contras for those. And so we actually had to pay for those, but we just added 10% on what we would have otherwise charged for the 12-month package, and then went and bought it for them when they signed up. And we had a bit of a thing in the contract just saying that we would provide the incentive after 6 weeks, after their first 6 weeks on air. So it gave time for their first payment to come through to pay for the thing. Anyway, it worked a treat. But there is a key to that, and that is the item must be luxury, and it must be something they desire, and they would probably not buy for themselves. That's one of the keys. Makes a real difference. Let's move on. Now, this is for probably for slightly larger stations, and this is fun stuff. Actually, I've been getting a lot of joy out of this in recent times. Sales lead generation. So we've been using some digital platforms to create sales leads, and this is kind of the process really. First thing is to create some downloadable content. Say, for instance, you might want to provide a 12-month planner for marketing, and you get it designed up and you make it available as a download on your website. Then you promote that out through social media. Let's run through these so I don't miss anything. You run through that social media. You can use advertising to provide it to people, and there's a couple of different ways you can do that, which is cool. With social media too, like with Facebook, there's now a thing called lead pages. Lead advertising. And what that does is allows you to capture an email and other contact details of people who are interested in receiving that, and they could provide their email address, and you can set that up so it automatically triggers an email to them. So they don't even have to leave Facebook. They fill in their details and it triggers off an email to them with a link to the thing that you're offering. Or you can offer it on your website and capture their email and contact details through a form of some sort, and then engage them with regular high quality content. So maybe monthly or fortnightly or weekly email updates with content they really want to read, and that warms them up. And then this is the fun part. This is the stuff that I'm really excited about for the future of radio and our sales as well. The automation process. Now, that sounds kind of crazy, huh? Like automation. What does that even mean? There's these three products. MailChimp does it the worst of the three here, but it does do it, and it's quite inexpensive. MailChimp, it costs, I think, $13 for the paid version, which is what you need if you're going to do the automation part. But ActiveCampaign is a similar price, and let me just show you something so you can see. I use ActiveCampaign all the time, and this is the sort of thing you can do with it. So ActiveCampaign allows you to track when people go onto your website and see what page they go to. According to what pages they go to, you can trigger them to receive an email or be tagged. So say, for instance, if you have details about sponsorship and if a particular business keeps on going back to it to find out more details, you can actually see how many times they've been back to it. And this is the even better part. You can actually make it trigger a series of emails to warm them up. Whilst that's all happening, you can automatically give them a score, so that particularly in larger markets, it's lead generation is kind of a challenge in large markets. So you kind of need to find a different way to fish for those leads. So this method allows you to allow this system to give them scores to show their warmth over time. And so it will do, like you can see that this is all the different ways they can enter different automation workflows. They can subscribe, they can unsubscribe, they can submit a form. If they open an email and read an email, then they can be sent into an automation series. And the automation series can include emails, it can include SMSs. If they, like I said, if they visit the web page, if they share an email, or if they, there's a bunch of different ways you can use it, but just there's some serious potential for how you can use that to do your lead generation for sales, and that's probably one of the hardest things in the large markets. And these three tools, so ActiveCampaign is the cheapest by far. Infusionsoft costs a bomb. It's like $299 to start, and that's in US dollars. And Pardot is the Salesforce integration version, and that's something like $1,400 per month US to start. So it's ridiculously expensive, but ActiveCampaign is like $29 a month, and it does all that. It's amazing. Anyway, let me get carried out. Danny, can you give me an update on how much time we've got left to go?
We've got about 15 minutes to go, but I would suggest that, seeing as the information you're providing is so important, if you've got an extra 5-10 minutes up your sleeve, just go at your own pace.
Sweet. That's excellent. I do actually have more, plenty more.
Yeah, I think sort of go at your own pace. We will sort of, if anyone does have to leave at 7:30, we'll be able to provide this information to them after the fact.
Yeah, great. Let me hook into some fundraising. Now, I'm not going to go as deep on this as I would love to. And actually, to be honest with you, I'm a bit bummed that there's not more time with all this. As I started doing the prep for this, I realized there was a heap of stuff we could do. I mean, I think a lot of it could be really useful. So maybe we can talk later about how we can connect and how I can share some more. I've got a whole bunch of templates for things like creating packages and a whole lot of things like that we could possibly share with you as well. But let me hook into this fundraising thing, and I will hook into getting started with fundraising. And this is, thanks for the nice compliments there of wanting the more information. Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Now, let me start by saying both sponsorship sales and fundraising are really simple, but counterintuitive often. And they're also they're not hard, but they do take lots of work. Do you know what I mean? And they can actually, to be honest with you, it can feel kind of hard when you're pushing that wheelbarrow up the hill kind of thing, particularly when you're getting started with sponsorship sales. You're going out there over and over again and getting no. It can be a real trial. And same, you know what, it's the same thing with fundraising. There'll be a lot of organizations out there that wanted to get into fundraising and kind of gave up before they really got going. And it's kind of like setting up a flywheel. There's a couple of core elements that I want to share with you about how you can get started with your fundraising. Let me hook into this. So the top level things are, what is your why? Why would people donate to you? And the interesting thing with broadcast is there are actually a bunch of different people that are listening. And so your job is going to be to think about, yeah, I did spell that incorrectly. Good. You've got to figure out who's listening and which ones you particularly want to focus on with your fundraising message, because you can't talk to everyone. If you try and talk to everyone, you'll get no one. So you're going to have to focus in on a particular group of people that are more likely to give. and you're going to have to figure out a why or a cause that resonates with them. And so that actually takes a bit of work. I have recently been doing some workshops with organisations about that, and it's a tough process. And maybe it's also the topic for another webinar at some stage in the future, because that's really your starting point with fundraising. But let me run through these few other dot points here. Once you've got your why figured out, then you need to figure out how to get those people into your system so you can start talking to them. And there's a bunch of different ways you can acquire names. I've got 3 methods that I love. I love email collectors that we use on websites. Now, yes, if I tell you about pop-ups, you'll all throw things at me probably. And actually, I don't use pop-ups so much. I use another tool that provides something similar. And does provide pop-ups, but I rarely use them, and I use them with an intelligent tool. So if we are going to do it, we do it, and it only does it once and never again type thing. It's called Sumo. Maybe write that down if you get a chance. Sumo, or it used to be called Sumo Me. I've tried out a bunch of them, and they mostly suck, except for Sumo. It does cost something, but let me give you an idea of the sort of impact it can have. We set up Sumo on a radio station's website back in November, and since then they've had 400 people sign up. That's 400 new people connected to their database that they didn't have before. And this is the crazy thing. The way we'd set it up was we gave them an offer that they wouldn't have any other way apart from signing up to that email list. They receive a daily update of high value to them. And I was also involved in helping run the appeals, two appeals since we set that up. And in both appeals, we noticed a trend occur, which the people who were on that list were 4 times more likely to donate because they were receiving regular communication. And they also they gave twice as much as everyone else because they were receiving regular engaging communication. So name acquisition is a big thing. So maybe Sumo, it doesn't. Cool. Sorry, I'm getting carried away reading your comments. Now, onto the education side of it. Now, this is an interesting thing, and once again, it's one of those things that most people don't realize when it comes to fundraising. You feel like you should be able to put out an appeal letter to a list of 3,000 people, and they should donate, right? But I've seen lots of organizations spend a lot of money on stamps and even quite nice graphic design, only to get nowhere because they haven't actually taken the time to educate the people that they're talking to about why they should donate to their organization. So they might have figured out the cause, their why, but they haven't really shared it enough yet with their audience or with their potential donors. Now, to give you a story that kind of communicates this, at Ultra 1065, the station I used to manage, the first year we ran an on-air appeal, a radiothon. We raised 35 grand, but everyone was like, why are you asking for money? Like, you're a radio station, you shouldn't have to ask for money. And the second year, we still got some of those. Third year, we still got 1 or 2. Fourth year, no more. There's a process of educating your audience that you do a thing and it's normal. And so it kind of does take time to build, sadly, but you know what, if you start it now, then in 5 years' time, you can be quite amazed at the sort of growth you can see. So we went from 35K, which by the way, isn't terrible, is it? Through to the kind of the normal thing for the station now is about 120,000. That's where we're at about now. And by the way, back to the name acquisition thing, you can increase your total amount of donations coming in by increasing the number of people on the list, providing that you do all the other parts. So if you have 800 people on a list, which is what we used to have, and you doubled it to 1,600 and you educated and engaged them, you can double your donations. It kind of actually does work that way. Both sales and fundraising actually is a numbers game. So it's simple but at the same time, it's counterintuitive and the process takes a while, and so a lot of people give up too early. The engaging part's really important, by the way, so I probably haven't hammered on about that quite enough yet, so I'm going to go a little bit further. Really what you need to be doing is some sort of communication once a month via email, and also some sort of quarterly print newsletter if you want to really develop that fundraising. Now, when I say print newsletter, one of the things that's awesome, and this is for the regional stations particularly and the rurals to hear, you don't have to be super slick with it. Regular communication and engagement is the most important part. And then the second part is make it look the right kind of level for your community. So for instance, the things that I used to do at Coast FM on the northwest coast of Tas wouldn't have cut it in Hobart. There was a higher level of expectation because of the size of the market. And so the things that I did in Hobart wouldn't play out in Sydney in quite the same way. So what that means is, though, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money in regional areas or rural areas. It doesn't have to be the slickest. And in actual fact, you might get more donations if it's not super slick in rural and regional places. The other thing you need to do is ask. You need to do your asks. And, you know, radio stations are fantastic places for name acquisition, by the way. On-air appeals are amazing for name acquisition. Most of the time, with all the stations that I've seen that are doing regular appeals, they get 30%. 30% of the donations come from new people. So they're increasing their list every time they do an on-air appeal. Now there's natural attrition and all that sort of stuff, but really, if you can maintain that list well, and if you can use multiple channels, when I say multiple channels, I mean if you can send them a print thing in a snail mail, also an email, connect with them on social media, maybe even have some events that you come along to. Now you've got ways to stay in contact with them more than just the single thing, and it makes a real difference. But the next part is to ask. So if you're not doing radiothons or appeals at the moment, then that is something that's well worth working towards. You will need to figure out your why and your cause, and yeah, then you will need to ask. Oftentimes, this is the interesting thing too. If you want to increase your overall donation income, if you're running one radiothon, just run another one. So if you do one in June, run one in November as well. And then you can actually find other ways to run other sorts of appeals at other times of the year as well. There are some stations that are running 4 appeals a year of different sorts. So for instance, in March, they'll run a monthly giving appeal. In June, they'll run their end of year financial appeal. In November, they'll run their Christmas appeal. But then somewhere around August, September, I think around September, they'll run something else like a membership push or something like that. But you will need to ask, and the more often you ask, the more donations you'll get. It just kind of works that way. All right, let me push on. This is one of my main last points. So I talked about automation for sales. Check this out. This stuff blows me away, and the potential for it to automate fundraising for radio stations of all sizes, really, if you can set it up. Check this out. If you send an email out to someone and they click back to your website and they go and have a look at giving a bequest, with something like Active Campaign, you can actually then tag them as being interested in bequests. And that means you can then give them a phone call. You can actually make it, rather than sending them an email, you can actually shoot you an email to let them know that this person's interested in bequests. And so then you can give them a phone call, or you can do something about it, some other sort of thing about it. You might also have a donors page, like a page that outlines why people should give. If you, see ya, thank you, cheers. Sorry, I shouldn't get carried away talking to people on the chat. But if there's people who show interest in monthly giving, you can trigger off a series of maybe 6 or 7 emails that warm them up to that idea, with the final one being a real ask. And similarly, you can see if people are interested in becoming volunteers as well. And then, yeah, you can, you know, send them off something very specific about being a volunteer, and even a link to a sign-up form, you know. So you can really automate this stuff, and there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of other things I haven't mentioned that I'd love to, and perhaps maybe it's the sort of thing where we can look at doing some sort of follow-up again in the future. But perhaps, how are we going for time now, Danny?
Mate, I'm happy for you to keep on going for as long as you need to. Obviously, a few people have had to drop off, but I think it's really important information, and it's great that we have you here, and I'm not going to waste that opportunity.
Yeah, sweet. My thoughts are maybe, look, there is a lot of stuff I've covered, and I feel like there's a bunch of questions that have been coming in. Thank you, Greg. I would love some questions now, if that's all right. Would that be all right?
That's no worries at all. I've got some questions here for you. Barry Anderson has a couple. He's just left, but they're probably of interest to everyone else. Do your clients expect reach and frequency in regards to the 30 by 30 packages over the 5 to 7 days? That's what he's written on.
Look, let me answer that. So with the reach and frequency, so if you're running, say, for instance, that club package, we found that if you give them 2 spots a day, Monday to Friday, that's actually a really good entry point.
Yep.
In our market size. Now, it does change a bit according to the market you're in, but really, I would kind of have that as a standard package, as an entry-level package, and that has given significant. There's a lot of businesses that actually built themselves on that. Yeah, it was enough to grow a business out of.
Excellent. I think, Josh Scherf wanted a bit of clarification on what the club means, like the definition.
Oh yeah, it's just
the club package.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So the club, basically, it's another way to tell people that this is something special, and basically what you do is you section the offer 30% of your airtime just for those club members.
Excellent.
So there's room for 30 people, and the 30 doesn't have to be. You can do whatever you want. You can make it 40 or you can make it 20. The smaller you go, the less interesting it is, though, probably for potential sponsors.
Right.
But yeah, basically, they get a share of the leftover airtime, and so if there are 3 people in it, and that's all there is, then they're getting 10 spots a day each. Okay. And that's awesome, you know, compared to 2 spots a day.
Excellent. Barry also asked another question that I think is of interest to all community broadcasters, and it's a question we often get. How do you calculate your base rate for a 30-second sponsorship ad?
That's great. Thank you. Look, back to the plain flaps things. There's a few things. There's science, and then there's, you know, whatever guesses. But at first, to be honest with you, you don't actually want to get a fair rate. You want to get a rate that makes them say yes easily.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So initially, basically what you're going to do is you're going to buy the sale, because if you've been around sales for any time at all, you'll know that the customer is what you want, not the sale.
Right.
And so actually that's a very good question. Thank you. Because there were clients that I signed up when I first arrived in Hobart that signed up for $250 per month, that when I left the radio station were on $1,800 per month. And so you get price rises are not a problem. People will say that you can't raise your price once you've set it low. That's actually not true. We've seen it, we've risen it a lot over the time. But initially what you want is, you want it to sound like there's a lot of people on your radio station, so that you're being super successful. You want to make it super easy for them to say yes, reduce the risk as much as possible. But probably to answer your question, more specific, because you might be in a regional, or like a larger, like a submetro or something, where you're competing against other media outlets as well. Basically, you've got to actually judge it about what you can get. So if you've got a gun sales team and they're killing it, then you can charge a fair bit. But if you're just starting out, like the first kind of scenario I'm talking about, then you want to price it low. Say, for instance, in Hobart, we were charging around about, at one stage, we were charging 75% of the local commercial radio stations. And so you've got to kind of figure out how do people perceive you compared to other options in the market, particularly if you're starting to play with some of the larger sponsors as well.
Yeah, I think that'll be an evergreen question, that one, as to how stations best put a price on what their sponsorship is worth.
Yeah, that said, I think if there was a specific radio station, I could work it through with you. Like, maybe that would be fun to actually get a few at some stage and talk it through, because there are ways of knowing. Like, say, for instance, I'd ask you the question. So what are your local commercial radio stations charge?
Right.
And that's your starting point. And then the next question is, how full are you on air? Because back to the flaps thing.
Yeah.
If you're only 20% full on air and you're charging the same amount as commercial radio, drop those prices.
Yeah.
You're making it much harder for yourself than it has to be. Yeah.
Okay, we're getting some really great questions coming through, but just being mindful of the time. Is there a good way for participants of the session here to keep in touch with you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. What I did, just in case, because particularly I was starting to get fairly disappointed that I wasn't going to be able to cover everything. What I might do is I'll just post a link here. If you would like to stay in touch with me, if you drop your name and your email address in this link, then I'll be able to share with you all my templates and things like that. If that's useful, can I type it into this message thing here?
Yeah, if they put it in the message, it'll come out as a link, and that's radionext.com.au.
Yeah.
So that's yourself and Gavin Brett, is it not?
Yeah, that's right, and a few other people. Just trying to make a difference if we can. But if you put those details in there, I've got a whole bunch of other content that I'm in the process of writing, and templates and things like that I'd love to share. So basically, the method of my business, Radio Next, is we work with clients to figure out what the common themes are, then try and create content and things that can help with that based on that. Hopefully we can share things that will be useful for you.
Excellent. I'm sure it will. And there has been, there's so many more questions here that I'd love to answer. Apologies to Greg King and Andrew C and a few other people here. I'm really sorry that I couldn't get around to all of them. Just want to try and maximise the time that we've got with Nathaniel for the rest of his presentation. There's been discussion of possibly you may be appearing in another CBAA webinar in the future. I've got to tell you, I'm open to that idea.
Great. It'll be fun. Hopefully we can provide some real content that's going to change people's organisations, because, look, I know what it's like running a community radio station. It's tough. It can be really tough. And so any bit that you can do that makes it a bit easier, it's a good idea, I think.
Indeed. Now, is there any other stuff that you wanted to present, or should we just sort of get around to the part where people find out ways to keep in touch with you?
Well, so I've posted that now in there. I've posted a link in the chat now. So hopefully there's some people that have been saying that they can do that already.
Excellent.
I'm noticing that there's a bunch of people also dropping their emails in the chat. So perhaps maybe if we can export the chat, maybe I can import them into the list for them.
I'll be able to do that for you, and I can send that through to you ASAP.
Yeah,
I've noticed a few people are going, so perhaps I'd better wind this up. Nathaniel, thank you so much. This has been an absolutely wonderful presentation, and one that I suspect is only the tip of the iceberg, so hopefully we'll be able to do a lot more with this in the future. I think it's probably an ongoing thing. Big shout-outs to both David Donnelly and Joy Taylor as well. Joy extolling the virtues of linking up your community broadcasting station with other community initiatives. And David there talking about the benefits of sort of setting up those long-term sponsorship plans, both because it's sort of a bit of a guarantee of revenue and income for the station, and also it builds those relationships and cuts down on administration there at the station.
Yeah, brilliant.
Nathaniel, thank you so much. I'm only in the CBAA on Mondays and Wednesdays, so I'm going to find time on Monday to give you a call. And thank you so much for just benefiting us all with your knowledge. It's really the best thing about these CBAA webinars, besides the fact that I get to talk to everyone for an hour, which is great, is that we've got so many great people who are keen to come on board and share their knowledge with other community broadcasting stations. And it just gives me the good feels, if you will.
Yeah, it's a blast, isn't it?
That's the best. All right, then. I'll close it up then. On behalf of the CBAA and my good mate Geordie over there at the CMTO, happy birthday for last week, Geordie. Thanks to Nathaniel, David, and Joy. Where's my slides? I've got to bring my slides up. Oh, it's too late to do that now. August 23rd, what all community broadcasters need to know about defamation, and then the Youth and Women in Community Broadcasting webinar will be taking place in the month of October. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. When I hit exit on this training, you will get asked to do a bit of an evaluation, and please do so because your answers are what guides the future of the CBAA and CMTO webinars. Thanks very much, everyone. I'm going to stop recording now.